Welcome everyone to another Company Heroes 2 replay cast. This time we're going to have a 2v2 on Twapon, sent in by Earth. We can get the fog of war off. Spawning in the south as the Wehrmacht, and his ally is going to be Love Nest, so pretty famous face from the Company Heroes 2 scene. Going to be playing as the OKW on the north end of the spawn, but on the other side we're going to have Lonarch playing as the British down here, and playing as the USF SOS Stabenhilfe, some nice good manners coming off from both sides, so that's at least fine. And the map. A lot of people don't like Twapon because of the very annoying river that runs through the middle with the bridge. And I must say, I am not one of them because, well, sometimes you just need a spam fest, and this is a pretty decent map for this kind of spam fest that you can't deal with, but not without its own quirks, such as this graveyard with a lot of green cover, and the other side with the fuel point that doesn't have a lot of green cover but a lot of yellow cover. So it is a map that has its own problems, but it can also be good. Now, very good play by Loveness, going to be sending his Storm Pioneers to capture the building, catching the Rifleman in complete open terrain, and dealing quite a bit of damage against the squad. Obviously, not actually taking down any models, but pretty much taking down the squad to 25% of HP. So that's going to make it easier for his other squads that are coming up to finish off the Rifleman models quite easily. Lonarch right now is going to have a bit of a very close encounter between the two MGs, so the MG42 is going to have to retreat because it doesn't get the setup advantage on the Vickers. Very good play from Lonarch. Also taking the church to get additional firepower off against the Germans, but Earth is coming in with a second machine gun. Two machine gun starts are kind of interesting because, especially on a map like this, there's always the fear that you're going to be, in a way, flanked. And because of the very sort of strict lines of sight that are on this map because of the building, you really sometimes can't see the flank coming in. Right now, the MG42 is pretty much getting shot to pieces by the infantry section / Vickers combination. Remember, the infantry sections and buildings do get that rate of fire increase bonus from their cover bonus. So very, very dangerous units in buildings and in heavy cover. Always remember that when you're fighting them, even these machine guns that usually have so much better of a time. Hold on, my volume is a bit too loud. Definitely a bit too loud. Yes, should be fine now. Might be a little low now, but at least it's not blasting in my ears and making me unable to hear anything. Now, Loveness will go with some wire to prevent the enemy from using the Scar as cover, but in my experience, it's always pretty easy to find some way to get to the cover anyway, but oh well, that's just my experience. I never like to do this because of that, but hey, everyone else seems to think otherwise, so I'll just trust them that it works, despite the fact that I always see people getting into heavy cover anyway. Oh well. Nicely decapturing the victory point and getting some sandbags off at the same time. That's a much better idea. Of course, remember about this house, it's very important to remember that all the windows basically are on the west and east side. The two smaller sides of the house don't really have a lot of windows. The southern one has two, and the northern one doesn't even have any windows. So you can easily attack this squad from the flanks and basically not suffer any damage. Now, there is a mortar coming in from the USF player, SOS, and so that's going to force away the infantry that was sort of keeping the Riflemen busy from Love Nest. And right now, if the Riflemen were to get out of the house and reach the green cover down here at close range with the Germans, I think they would be able to do quite a lot of damage against the Grenadiers, but they're prevented from doing this from the MG42 that is sitting in this building. Of course, it's getting not rifle grenaded, it's getting artillery by the pyrotechnics supplied infantry section from the south. Of course, Lonarch, as you can see from the map, has taken all of the southern part of the map and basically has split along the line of the river with Earth. Earth is coming in with a sniper to try to pick off this machine gun crew in the church and open up the way for more of his infantry units to come in and harass the southern flank, which would be a decent push. Of course, he also needs to watch out over here in the north to not get himself completely destroyed. And I don't think he has realized that he cannot use this building to his advantage because of the fact that there are no windows shooting down. Now, there is one guy shooting. That's because there is a infantry section coming in from the flank. So a very nice flank coming in from Lonarch is going to pretty much cut off all these German infantry squads that are trying to hold out in the center part of the town. But one of the infantry sections was forced to retreat by the sheer amount of firepower coming down from these Kar 98s that were holed up in the buildings. Now, this squad is going to get alive, and pretty much all the squads around here will, unless a player makes a pretty dramatic mistake, which I don't think they will. The mortar is still pounding the house, so that's going to be very bad. Already up to 2 kills, not a lot of damage dealt, but definitely has been getting its essentially keep earned by the fact that it's sort of just preventing the Germans from using buildings to their advantage. And of course, in a map that's so building rich as this one, that is very, very powerful. There's no doubt the reason why SOS went for it. Now, SOS has also gone for the Airborne Company, which is an interesting choice because obviously with the paratroopers, he's going to be able to use those M1919 machine guns that they get to good advantage, but I feel like the Infantry Company just provides that with the Rifleman upgrade anyway, and the paratroopers at 380 for an elite infantry squad are, in my opinion, not quite as effective as the Rangers, which are, I believe, 390, and can get the Thompsons along with a bar, because with the paratroopers, despite the fact that there's 6 of them, when you get the paratroopers, you can't upgrade any other weapons on them, but with the Rangers, despite the fact that there's only 5 of them, you can get the 4 Thompsons plus 1 bar, which is a very, very powerful combination that not a lot of people use. Unless it was patched out of the game, but I don't think it did. Now, this infantry squad is definitely in a bit of a pickle with basically 5 rifleman squads if we count the... Oh no, actually no, that's 3 riflemen, 1 pathfinder, and 1 rear echelon troop, which is obviously worse than 5 rifleman squads because the pathfinder has that ability to snipe low health models quite reliably, so that is very dangerous. Now, a couple of Volksgrenadiers, oh no, 1 Volksgrenadier and 1 Panzer Fusilier are going to be shoveling this rifleman squad basically out of cover and very nearly wiping it. No, very good wipe at long range from Loveness infantry. Loveness is floating quite a bit of manpower, but he has managed to use his Stern Pioneers in a very nice decapping maneuver, managing to at least decap the fuel point for quite a bit. And right now the Allies have managed to recapture that area, but only after the British player was forced to send a lot of infantry squads in the area. So that's kind of indirectly helping define the center and the west by allowing more troops from the Germans to reinforce the area and less troops from the Allies to reinforce the area because all the British were on the other side of the river. Good play with the Panzer Fusiliers is going to force the mortar to pull back, and I feel like the retreat was not necessary there. He could have definitely done without retreating there, but oh, okay, so this is the reason why I think he went for the Airborne Doctrine, is because he wants to get the 50 cal machine gun without having to upgrade the Lieutenant. Now, that's a decent reason to go Airborne Company, but remember, I don't think that that's worth to just pick the entire doctrine just for that. Of course, the 50 caliber machine gun is a pretty decent machine gun, and having to go Captain sometimes is pretty much forced upon you as the USF because Captain is just so much better against light vehicles than the Lieutenant tier. Obviously, the Lieutenant tier does have the M20 mines, but other than that, you don't really have a lot of anti-vehicle solutions. You have, I guess, the armor-piercing rounds from the 50 cal, but that's not too great. And with this choice of the Airborne Doctrine, along with the Captain, he can get the best of both worlds and get out a suppression unit and the very dangerous, not only the very dangerous Stuart, but also the Pack Howitzer in case he wanted it. I don't think with the mortar on the field he needs it, but oh well, I guess he could get that. Right now, there is pretty much an even game in terms of the victory points, but the resources are a little bit in the favor of the Allies because they have a lot more territory in the south of the map compared to what the Germans have in the north of the map. They have pretty much all the points captured, whereas the Germans are kind of sharing this side of the map with the Allies. The Allies do have the control pretty much permanently of at least this point. So they're having a pretty of an easier time getting resources because of their point superiority. That's kind of translating onto a double fuel advantage, at least double the fuel income of the enemy until they capture this fuel point, in which case they're going to have even more. They're going to have 39 fuel income compared to the 16 that the Germans have. So that's obviously going to be a very good advantage as we approach the mid-game and the light vehicle phase. Now, Loveness is going for a Stuka, which means that he's obviously got the Mechanized Regiment headquarters. Mechanized Regiment headquarters is going to be pretty decent in terms of the Stuka. Obviously on this map, the Stuka with all the buildings and the way people like to bunch up into narrow streets and the likes, going to be very useful. But at the same time, what would also be very useful is a battle group headquarters in around this area of the map to sort of have a quicker retreat path towards there and be able to get his units back into the fight quicker. Now, since he's also going with the Yag Tiger, he's not gonna really need all that much AT. So the Jagdpanzer from... Oh, yeah, right. I'm an idiot. The Jagdpanzer is from the tier 4, but we'll see what he wants to do later on with his buildings. Now, also, this kind of allows him to put his building, his tech structure, in a bit of a easier location to defend. Because if you put a battle group headquarters right over here or right over here, if the allies want to make a concerned push and very determinedly are very determined to destroy the battle group headquarters, then I think they can do that. That is, if they can secure the advantage with a light vehicle. I'm not sure why they're not getting out any light vehicles, but Sterbehilfe over here does have 200 fuel, which means that soon enough he will be able to bring out the medium and heavier vehicles as well because of the just stockpile that he has built up. Now, first Stuka barrage going to be coming down in the center, probably on this machine gun and mortar. Mortar is going to go completely down, and machine gun goes down as well. Excellent first barrage. Going to take 6 kills and also take out the machine gun crew, which means that not only the manpower of the units that were reinforcing the machine gun went down the drain, but also the 260 manpower that he spent to get that weapon will be going down the drain as well. And here comes an incendiary grenade from his Volksgrenadiers, which might be enough to wipe out the crew that recaptured it, but no, I don't think the mortar will be going down. Nice push coming in from Lonarch. Pretty good for the decaps. He will be able to decap this point, and this point is pretty much the neck of the Germans. Once you cut this, the head over here, the base, will be completely cut off from the body, which is over here. So very nice cutoff, and right now the Panzer Fusiliers will also need to retreat because of the infantry sections. Excellent firepower, especially at close range with these heavy cover bonuses. They will be very deadly. And here comes a counter push from the south. Now, Sniper will have to retreat. 16 kills on this Sniper. So at least it's been microed so far pretty well by Earth, who doesn't have any later tier upgrades, which is very interesting. I would have expected by this point him to be a little bit well equipped, and there goes the Sniper. Sniper unfortunately died. Earth kind of preemptively bought a replacement, but it's walking into an artillery strike, which is not exactly the best decision it could have for its health, but oh well, I guess it's Earth that's playing and not me, so I should shut up. Now, there is a bit of a problem. The fact that the Germans have not been able to mirror the push that the Allies have made on the left side means that the resource disadvantage that they've received from this push is sort of compiling on the resource disadvantage that they already had. And this machine gun is still operating quite easily by the church, so it's kind of very nicely stopping the Germans from recapturing the south of the map. And what I feel like Earth is really doing wrong is the fact that something like a flame half-track would have been able to take out this machine gun a long time ago, whereas it looks like some kind of artillery was called down. That was the Stuka barrage, was it? I think that was the Stuka, if we can get to it. Yep, it just fired at about here, and the machine gun pretty much didn't care. That's because the building is very big, so it did not collapse because of the amount of hit points that it has, and also because the Stuka barrage rockets hit in this area, and essentially the AoE, area of effect damage, that hits a building does count where the models are. So for example, as you can see, all the models are on the west side of the church, so if all the rockets were to hit the center and right, then there wouldn't be much damage done to the models because they were sitting on the west side. So that unfortunately meant not a lot of damage dealt to the infantry squad that was sitting in there. And now, ooh, hammer tactics. That's quite early. Hammer tactics are going to be quite useful for the Gamma Bomb, but I don't think the Comet Tank is particularly effective on this map. We'll see how Lonarch can actually use this hammer tactics, because he's also got a lot of resources, so I feel like also going for the Anvil tactics would have been quite okay for the Churchill. Now, this machine gun might just get wiped by the Storm Pioneers from Love Nest. Very good job capturing the points and also capturing the machine gun. He's going to be able to defend from extra pushes. I don't think he should have retreated this extra Storm Pioneer. I think he should have used it to capture the fuel point while the machine gun was covering it. And I think that might just cost him, because he will use this to capture the point. He will use the machine gun to capture the point. Thus, it will be kind of out of position once the Allies arrive, and because it's kind of being forced onto this role of capturing, it will not be quite as effective because of its positioning. Now, the paratroopers have been upgraded with the Thompsons, which kind of begs the question as to why he did not go for the Ranger Company. Maybe he just didn't have Rangers, maybe he just wanted something different. Maybe he wanted the P-47 Rocket Strike, which is going to be very effective against German vehicles, especially small ones, or not small ones, slow ones like the Jagdtiger. We'll see later on. He still has plenty of time to actually get his choice kind of justified. And as you can see, the Allies are able to easily outflank this machine gun. Not before the machine gun gets some decent suppression going on the riflemen, and the Volksrangers with the SSG upgrade on its way are doing a decent job of holding the infantry squads from the Allies at bay while the machine gun goes to work. Of course, the two Vickers will be slugging out against each other, which will give the riflemen enough time to defeat the Volksrangers and force the machine gun to retreat. So right side going to go to the Allies again, especially with the influx of British infantry coming in from the south, or sorry, from the north. Of course, they're kind of walking through negative cover, but with the Bren amounts that they have, they're going to be able to easily defeat these Pioneers. There is a mortar coming in from Earth, very smartly going to be retreating it to avoid the capture of it. Now, 2 AT guns are a smart decision just in case the Allies were going for any armor, but the Allies were not going for any armor. They're floating about 200 fuel, each of them, which is not a good thing. It's kind of allowing the Germans to survive despite the fact that they were not really focusing themselves on the fuel points in any kind of way. Here comes a flame grenade on the infantry sections in the center, obviously going to be forcing them to retreat along with the Panzer Fusiliers coming in as well to reinforce the push. Now, obviously the Royal Engineers are not going to be able to hold against the Panzer Fusiliers, but the Panzer Fusiliers are kind of huddling up in green cover, which means that, for example, the American mortar... Never mind. Guess there's no more American mortar. I was afraid that the American mortar would start firing on them and start wiping them out, but I guess the American mortar is not with us anymore. And if these infantry sections had just stopped and used the Bren, I think they would have been able to wipe out those very unfortunate Storm Pioneers who were retreating with very low HP. Which is unfortunate for the British that they were not able to actually find that out. Now, there is another Raketenwerfer coming on the field for Love Nest. Love Nest is definitely also loading up an anti-tank. Not quite as dramatically, I guess, as Earth, because I guess the pack is a little bit more expensive than Raketenwerfer at, I believe, 50 manpower more. So, again, that's like 100 manpower considering the two. Here comes a artillery strike on the Raketenwerfer. I guess he just saw it earlier and it did not move. That was very strange. I mean, of course the Raketenwerfer can retreat. It's not like a pack that has to kind of be manually told to walk back, but even the pack would have been able to avoid the artillery strike, so I'm not quite sure as to why that was the case. Of course, this vet-free Volksranger squad might just go down to the Thompson-equipped paratroopers. Very, very nice push from SOS. He's starting to get a few kills with this paratroopers. Obviously, he could activate Tactical Assault to do extra damage against these Grenadiers, but the Grenadiers are going to pretty wisely retreat and let the snipers handle the situation. Obviously, snipers very, very excellent against elite infantry. One shot is going to kill them, is going to kill the elite infantry, I mean, just as easily as any Pioneers or any Osttruppen, but it's going to deal much more damage every shot because of the extra manpower cost of reinforcing. Here comes a Comet, going to be able to easily take out these machine guns and pretty much clear out the right side of the map because there are no German tank guns in the area, despite the fact that the Germans have 4 anti-tank guns. The only one that they have around has a little bit of an obstruction in line of sight in the form of these stairs, so it's not going to be able to really shoot through the stairs and the wall and the hill and hit the Comet. Of course, there's also the fact that the AT gun cannot shoot through the walls, but the Comet can easily just crush through the walls, so it cannot cover the walls, but if the Comet decides to flank through them, there's really not much that the pack gun can do. And in the north, the Allies are starting to make a nice push to recapture the field point. That's not going to go too well because over here, Sterbe hasn't upgraded any of his riflemen with weapons, despite the fact that he has the weapon rack unlock and 400 munitions to his name. He still has not, in any way, upgrading his riflemen, which is going to start biting him in the ass soon enough because he's not going to have the veterancy required to actually fight the Germans late game. Now, the Stuka hasn't been firing this entire time, but here comes a decent barrage. Gonna take out the anti-tank gun crew with all of its veterancy that they might have earned in the meantime, and almost takes out the Vickers machine gun. One unfortunate, one annoying guy who was kind of outside of the rest of the infantry squad that was crewing the weapon managed to make it survive and retreat. 2 Panzer Fusiliers going to be pushing through the destroyed streets in the center and going to be capturing a bazooka from the captain. Captain, interestingly enough, has upgraded 2 bazookas, not only just the one from his upgrade, but also one from the weapon rack unlock. And here comes also a rear echelon troop with 2 bazookas and a minesweeper, which is going to be pretty effective at being a support unit, which again means that he hasn't forgotten about his ability to actually use those weapon racks, so I'm not really quite sure as to why he's not upgrading his rifleman. Good flank on the machine gun, going to be taking it out, but there's some friendly fire coming in from the artillery, which kind of threatens the life of a lot of American troops. This squad might go down from the push of the Panzer Fusiliers. Going to be running for the negative cover, and very lucky that the G43s missed. Now, Lonarch has gone for the land mattress, which means that he does have the mobile assault regiment selected. Not really too much of a fan of the mobile assault regiment, except for the land mattress. Now, the land mattress is obviously going to be extremely effective in an environment like this, where people tend to kind of bunch up their units a little bit more because they're forced to. But at the same time, I don't feel like picking a doctrine over it will be good enough. Now, the Germans have picked, I believe, better doctrines than the Allies. Breakthrough and the Lightning War. Lightning War, obviously very, very dangerous because of the Tiger. The relief infantry, if you have the munitions to use the ability, which right now Earth doesn't, and the Stuka close air support, which again requires the munitions. Here comes actually a Stuka counter battery coming in on the land mattress. Very, very nearly takes out the entire blob of British troops, and very luckily kind of whiffs the land mattress, leaving it alive. Stuka is now up to 16 kills, and with its machine gun might actually help secure the wipe on a British infantry squad that was just running around, and a teller mine from Earth, obviously not triggering on the infantry. Decent use of mines from Earth, just in case a vehicle decides to come in to take out the Stuka. The teller mine is going to be able to stop it if it comes through the obvious route. Right now, of course, the sniper is almost... Oh, nice wipe on the rear echelon troops. So that's actually... it might not look that much, just wiping a rear echelon troop, but that was a 130 munition squad, because it upgraded the minesweeper for 30, I believe. Are we certain that the minesweeper for the rear echelons is 30? Either 30 or 35 munitions for the minesweeper, plus 100 munitions for those 2 bazookas. So that's a lot of munitions down the drain for the Germans. Fortunately, right now, the Germans are really lacking in terms of map control, and they're getting triple capped by the Allies. So if they don't kind of get their act together and push towards one of the VPs, then they're going to have a very hard time soon enough. Now, machine gun, along with the snipers, will be able to easily take out this infantry squad and force the retreat, but there are some artillery shells landing nearby. And again, I think with the anvil tactics and the airburst shells, that would have been effective a little bit more. That is because obviously Lonarch has been using these artillery strikes quite a lot, and I think getting a little bit of extra value off of it would have been good. Lonarch is obviously also floating a ton of manpower, as well as Love Nest. He's floating a lot of manpower too, but that's because he's saving up for the Yag Tiger, which obviously is a very, very expensive vehicle, and so a little bit more of extra manpower in the reserves is welcome. Now, this Sherman has been in the field for a while, but I haven't talked about it because it hasn't really done anything. I really, really dislike this because the Sherman is a vehicle that kind of falls off later on. It's only really useful to take out infantry, and once the enemy does get a lot of AT and a lot of vehicles in play, then the star of the Sherman kind of falls off. So right now the Sherman should really be pushing its advantage while the enemy still only has light forms of AT, such as these infantry squads carrying AT weapons, and sometimes these Raketenwerfers, which normally will not be able to take out the Sherman quite as easily, but with the Sherman being at half HP from the Panzerschrecks, we'll be able to easily take it out. Paratroopers might take out the weapon crew, but a very nice burst of incendiary armor piercing rounds will deal a huge amount of damage to the paratroopers, might actually take them out. There's a Panther over here from Earth. It's taking a huge amount of damage from the Major and the Captain. The Comet will be coming in for a flank, fully repaired from its damaged engine, and right now the Raketenwerfer will be caught completely by surprise, but unfortunately the Comet was an attack move, and so it stops instead of actually getting around the Raketenwerfer and getting in the backside where it can't fire. Nice Panzerfaust going to be coming in and securing the 5th veterancy level for these Volksrangers, as well as taking out the engine of the Comet. And right now in the center, the American infantry is taking a lot of casualties from the combined firepower of the German units that were defending here, especially these lovely grenadiers with the MG42s and the Panzer Fusiliers coming in to reinforce with 23 kills. So very good management of this unit from Lovenest. And he's lost the other Panzer Fusilier squad, which has forced them to replace it. Replace the Panzer Fusilier squad. And what did his pen? I think he bought a Schwer Panzer headquarters and a battle group headquarters. So considering the amount of fuel he just lost, I think that was the battle group headquarters. Pretty certain. Yes, that was the battle group headquarters plus the field medics. So right now he's going to be waiting a long time to actually get any substantial vehicles out on the field. He's been working with only the Stuka for a long time, but he's been doing pretty well at it because right now the Allies are really not using the fuel advantage that they had in any kind of capacity. The Comet hasn't been too effective so far. It's gotten 14 kills, which may sound like a lot, but for such an expensive and powerful vehicle like the Comet, I really don't think that it's in any way worth to spend 200 fuel on a vehicle that's only going to get 14 kills before the enemy can work up some kind of counter to it. And here comes the second land mattress, which again, remember, the land mattress is 40 fuel, so it's no joke to actually buy a land mattress. And then the land mattress is really not doing much. It fired its first barrage and completely missed. Here comes the Stuka. I heard that it did something, and it most definitely got some veterancy off of that. Looks like it killed the mortar crew, so finally the American mortar goes down. I'm not sure where it was earlier that it wasn't crewed, but oh well. The Panther from Earth has been repaired, and will be able to deal some damage to the Comet. Unfortunately, I think the Comet is going to be superior in this kind of environment. Nice taking out the anti-tank gun from Earth, but unfortunately the Comet will be just peekabooing around the corner, and pretty decent amount of damage coming down. The Panther will force us to retreat. Panther unfortunately misses the shot, so very, very nice trade for the Comet in terms of the HP count. Of course, right now the Germans are still kind of suffering from a double cap, which is not good at all. Right now they're going to be recapturing the north with the Panzer Fusiliers, and they will be witnessing a paratrooper drop coming in on this beacon that SOS has set up, and of course from the Pathfinders setting up the beacon. I feel like the Pathfinders, again, just like all of his other units, should be getting upgraded right now, and he's lost both of his rifleman squads, so I guess he can't upgrade those anymore, which is, well, it's not a good excuse for not upgrading your infantry, the fact that you have lost them all, but oh well. I still think that SOS would have been in a much better position had he just upgraded his riflemen. I think the paratroopers are, while good, they're just extremely expensive to reinforce, as you can see. Well, 28. That's actually not too much. I was expecting a little bit more. I was expecting in the range of like 36, but oh well. I guess what I was saying doesn't really matter. I don't know. I still think the paratroopers are a little bit too expensive to your mainline infantry. Here comes another land mattress barrage coming down on the Schwer Panzer headquarters, almost taking it out. Very close to it going down. Of course, there is a Sturm Pioneer squad with the support package upgraded, so they're going to be extremely fast at repairing that headquarters. Only at Vet Free, though, did they get any bonuses towards repair, which is unfortunate for Lovenest right now. The two snipers from Earth have been starting to deal quite a bit of damage to the Allied forces. 22 kills between them, definitely starting to earn their keep. And right now, the Vickers that Lovenest has stolen pretty much a long time ago is going to work towards the right side VP. And right now, the VPs are just kind of exchanging hands, which is not good enough for the Germans. They really need to get themselves in a kind of secure position, because even with a double cap or a single cap with a 2-to-1 split, the Allies are kind of coming out on top because they have a much bigger point supply. They have double the points that the Germans have right now, 300 to 150, and so the more that they can kind of just nudge the Germans onto defeat, the more they can essentially pressure the Germans onto making mistakes on the map, because the more obviously the VPs are going to be coming down towards defeat, the less you're going to be thinking about what you're doing, and you're going to be essentially doing rash actions. Speaking of rash actions, I'm not sure what this land mattress is doing and what this Comet is doing. Taking a lot of damage from the Rakenwerfers coming in from the flanks, and the land mattress is firing on the bridge. It's not really working out because of this very trollish building actually helping the bridge, I think it was meant to blow up the bridge with the Panther on the other side and kind of force it onto the Comet, but the Panther will just take that plan and say, okay, thanks, because it just destroyed the Comet along with the help of the Panzer Fusiliers and Tank Grenade. So, very good job. Panzer Fusiliers will also take out the Landmaster's XP, so very good job, and I don't think that this infantry section will be able to deal with the Vet 5 Panzer Fusiliers. Vet 5 Panzer Fusiliers are just Terminators, and right now, there's still a Sherman on the field for SOS. I don't think SOS is carrying his weight, I guess you could say. Shermans are just not really that effective once the enemy gets a lot of anti-tank and a lot of vehicles out. Of course, the Germans don't really have a lot of vehicles out, only a Panther so far. I mean, I say only a Panther, but still, Panther is quite substantial. That is only because Earth has run out of PopCap because of his 2 anti-tank guns and 2 snipers who are quite PopCap heavy units. So that's pretty much the only reason he has run out of PopCap, and soon enough, once he loses something, I mean, hopefully he doesn't lose anything, but once he loses something, because again at this point there's going to be a lot of things to micro, he's going to lose something, he can bring out the Tiger. So again, pretty heavy compared to whatever the Allies have. And right now the Comet, his friend has been killed and he was the veteran friend, so right now the Green Comet is going to be forced to basically pull the weight for 2 players worth of vehicles, because the Americans are really not getting any vehicles out, and I think it's kind of a shame, because right now a Jackson would definitely help out in the narrow spaces of the north to sort of defend against any kind of German heavy tanks or medium tanks. And at the same time, I still feel like had he not gone for so many paratroopers and he had just gone for upgraded riflemen, he would have enough manpower to sustain this and essentially use his fuel, because of course right now he's kind of out of manpower. He cannot really spend his fuel in anything because he does not have manpower to actually build units. But had he not lost all those paratroopers, those very expensive paratroopers, I still think he would have enough manpower. That's just me. And right now, the Panther is gonna be rescuing the machine gun. Now, very, very lucky this machine gun to actually not get demolished by the Comet sooner. Here comes the Stuka Barrage, gonna be missing mostly, but also takes out the building, which is good enough, because not only it takes out also the beacon, which is kind of funny because now the paratroopers can't reinforce from the beacon. It's also decent because the Allies were kind of using that to their good advantage, especially with the Pathfinders. Pathfinders, very, very effective. And here comes the King Tiger from Love Nest. Now, I was not expecting this. I was expecting him to go for the Yag Tiger, but I guess he had a very good idea to not go for the Yag Tiger because, ooh, nice execution on the Panzer Grenadiers, sorry. And here comes the Tiger, as I said. So both of the big cats are now out, and I think this is going to be the end of the Allies because there's only a Comet to oppose them along with the Sherman, and the Sherman is kind of pitiful anyway against these big heavy tanks. There is a stolen Buchenwerfer on the field for SOS, which is starting to pound away to King Tiger, but not enough. Again, first of all, I don't like Yag Tiger on this map because there's just too many ways to flank it. But at the same time, he saw that the Allies were really, really, really not getting out any vehicles. So he just thought that the King Tiger was a better idea, and I think that he was completely right. I guess he just went for the Panzer Fusiliers from the Breakthrough Doctrine. I mean, they're really good infantry, and they've been serving him well, so I guess it's okay. The Sherman is taking a lot of damage from their Buchenwerfer, but it will be finished off, I think, by the Tiger. Very good shot in the frontal armor. Unfortunately, not enough to kill it, and the next shot is going to be enough if it didn't miss. Completely missed and hits the beacon, and so the Sherman is going to be taken out by the Buchenwerfer, and the Tiger destroys the abandoned Sherman. This Tiger is just not getting anything right. Great Stuka Barrage coming down on the infantry squads from Lone Arc, and he's going to be forced to retreat. Of course, he does have a lot of manpower, so it will not be too bad for him, but right now the Germans are about to get a triple cap going compared to the Allies, and that's probably going to be the end of the Allies because, again, you just have no counter to the big cats, and once you have no counter to the big German heavy tanks and you're against a German team that's kind of using them well and using them aggressively, there's really nothing that you can do because they're just going to come at you and you're not going to have any answers. Even this stolen Buchenwerfer, it's got a lot of penetration, sure, but it really can't do much when there's this building that the Tiger can use to kind of play with it. like a ball of cord, you know. And just right now, the Panzer Fusiliers and the snipers and the big heavy tanks are a little bit too much for the Allies to handle. How many kills did the Panzer Fusiliers get in the end? Quite a lot, 36 between them. And there was another squad that we kind of lost count of because they died. So obviously that, plus the fact that they lost this Victor's machine gun with a lot of kills, plus the fact that they kind of let Stuka deal a lot of damage to them without having any viable counters, because yes, they did have the counter battery from the two land mattresses, but the land mattresses are a infantry trained, or I guess man trained, I'm not sure, I guess just weapon crew based artillery piece, which obviously doesn't do very well against a rocket artillery piece that's mounted on a vehicle. A motorized rocket artillery piece is going to be superior to a non-motorized one pretty much 100% of the time. Rocket artillery is always made to just generally take out infantry and sometimes light vehicles, which obviously means that a vehicle that can redeploy is going to have a huge advantage over a essentially man-trained unit that's going to be very slow at repositioning. And that's exactly what Loveness did. Very good job on his Stuka barrages, taking out the land mattresses pretty much all the time and then repositioning. And then pretty much the other thing that kind of doomed them was the fact that I think SOS really didn't go for the correct units as the Americans. You don't want to be getting yourself into a position where you're going to be manpower bled to death. It's pretty easy for it to happen to you as the Americans, so you should be working against it and not in the favor of something like this to happen. And exactly the way you work towards getting yourself manpower bled to death is just spamming a lot of elite infantry and throwing it into a meat grinder engagement, which is exactly what happened over here in the north. And then, what else did they do wrong? Well, I guess they kind of neglected their anti-tank gun compartment. They did only get one 6-pounder and one 57mm. Of course, the 57mm was quite late, and the 6-pounder was really getting Stuka a lot from what I saw, so it really didn't have the ability to actually come into play. Whereas if you look at the Germans, 2 packs from Earth, which of course they didn't do much, but still, they were there to at least they were there to deter the enemy, and that was a very interesting friendly fire coming in. They've taken out 2 Panzer Fusiliers and 2 Volksgrenadiers from Love Nest. Of course, you can also get a Piat from those very, very polite Royal Engineers who very kindly dropped the Piat to the Germans, and here comes, I think, the final push. The Allies are just kind of cornered into the base, and that's not exactly what you want to happen, especially when the enemy has those big heavy tanks with very, very strong HE-powered guns. 15 kills on the Tiger and 8 kills on the King Tiger. Interestingly enough, the King Tiger has more XP because it's been firing on the Comet and the Sherman, I believe. Or rather, no, the Sherman has been fired on by the Tiger, so I guess the King Tiger has just been firing a lot at the Comet, so learn something new every day. And yeah, I believe I can just speed it up. Unfortunately, they're gonna go down soon enough. Here comes an artillery barrage. Stuka very nicely taking out the 6-pounder, as well as the assault artillery coming down on the area. Gonna be dropping a lot of smoke. Here comes a counter battery barrage from the land mattresses, taking out one of the Panzer Grenadiers. That was a very vetted up Panzer Grenadier, but unfortunately the other land mattress hasn't been firing because it doesn't have any really viable targets. And well, the Royal Engineers were kind of massacred in a futile attempt to push the Germans back by the munitions point, which was kind of meant by the King Tiger. And the Tiger is very low on HP, but it's going to be able to very easily take out this anti-tank gun, taking fire from the 57mm that was covering the 6-pounder, as well as getting unfortunately blocked by the Pack Gun Corps. And the Pack Gun Corps will be even more annoying because the land matches will take out the crew that was training it back, along with the 57mm will be able to take out the Tiger. Very interesting interaction over there with the AP rounds coming down and the take aim, increasing the range, as well as the land mattress taking out the Pack Gun and basically trapping the Tiger between the river and the gun. That pretty much meant doom for the Tiger, but unfortunately the Allies have basically half a minute left before they lose because of the triple cap that's happening, so really no way for them to stay in this game, especially because they have no infantry squad left to actually go out and cap. As well as the King Tiger pushing on their base. I think this is going to be GG. I've already pretty much explained why I think that the Allies lost and what they could have done differently, so main mistakes by the Germans. I think that Loveness for a while was kind of floating a little bit too much manpower, which could happen. I mean, he was getting pushed a lot on his side, so I think he was kind of holding onto a bit of manpower in order to have a reserve in case he gets some of his units wiped. He definitely played well with the Panzer Fusiliers. They were an excellent unit, and he used them very well, even in an area where they can pretty easily get wiped if they get a little bit clumped up a little bit too much. They can easily get wiped, even though they're a 6-man squad. So I think definitely only getting one unit wiped of them was a good play, as well as I think he played quite well with his Volksgrenadiers. He lost one squad, I believe. Let me check the player statistics for the units lost. He lost 2 Volksgrenadiers, that's fine. And with the Raketenwerfers, he used them a lot more than Earth used them. As you can see, 1,259% efficiency on the Raketenwerfers. That's excellent for an AT gun, because AT guns are decently expensive, and so they don't always get this much out of them. As you can see, the pack has 10 times less effectiveness because they were used a lot more conservatively by Earth than they were by Lovenest. Now, Earth at the end got a Panzerwerfer, which did not really do much. Unfortunately, I missed. He definitely played well with the Panther, kept it alive for a long time in a very hostile environment. I think the main mistake, actually, of all players was just mine usage. Nobody used mines, and general munitions usage was kind of low. As you can see, Earth has... Oh, sorry, I just hit my mic. 250 munitions. Loveness has 230, and the Allies both have 1,200 and 1,400. So I think really all players could have used a lot more mines, especially Lonark, who has pretty much the biggest float, the lowest amount of things that he can use munitions with, essentially, from the Doctrine. And he had 3 Royal Engineers, so he even had the most mine-laying units out of all of them. I believe Earth only had 1 Pioneer throughout the game, which I guess is a mistake. Oh, 2 Pioneers, okay, that's fine. I like 2 Pioneers. I in general like 2 Engineers because one with a flamethrower, one with a Minesweeper, and both of them for laying mines and repairing vehicles. Lovenest had 1, obviously Stern Pioneers, so they can pretty much be left as 1, and they'll do the job of 2 Engineers because they're really good. And then Mr. SOS, sometimes he had some rear echelons, but obviously he doesn't have any mines because he's Americans. I guess an M10, an M20 would have been okay, but he went an entire Doctrine just to avoid having to go Lieutenant here. So I guess no M20 for him, and he never used the P47, which I think would have helped against the big heavy tanks because they're kind of slow. They can't really escape. Of course, he was facing the OKW on a very small map, so the Führer Panzer Headquarters range kind of covers a lot of the map, and also the flag emplacements? No flag emplacements. Interesting. It gave all the emplacements on over to the German, or the Wehrmacht, so I guess no flag emplacements. But yeah, I guess he was afraid of the AA and the plane getting shut down, but I think that's still a mistake. He should have used the munitions abilities of his Doctrine a little bit more. So I'm going to thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the cast. I hope you learned something. It was definitely a lot to learn, and I'll see you soon.